My name is Jonathan Mize, and this is my vlog on free trade and why it isn't always the best thing. What is free trade? Free trade is a policy by the government that does not does not impose tariffs on imports or influence exports with subsidies. However, it doesn't mean they lose all control over their taxes of the goods coming in and out. The biggest cons, like biggest worries you have to have with any free trade policy is going to be the loss of jobs. Because especially with America and the fact that we do have a very good, well, we have a better than most minimum wage here. And that means that manufacturers are going to want to move their factories overseas where they can produce them for far cheaper and send the goods produced back here rather, without having to worry about paying extra taxes, allowing them to simply outcompete those businesses that do stay in America and give workers jobs here because they have a far higher minimum wage to compete with. As far as pros for free trade, the biggest boon that you have is that it strengthens alliances. So, for example, our free trade agreement with South Korea, we have that free trade agreement because they are one of our most important allies. They are our first bulwark against China and North Korea. And so to keep them in our in this agreement that we have with them, we signed a free trade agreement that makes it very, very profitable for them to work with us. Now, of course, then you have to weigh those pros and cons. Is it really worth the amount of money that we're losing to have this ally? In some cases, like South Korea, it's pretty worth it. However, when you have countries like Mexico and Canada where there aren't really any imminent threats there, you have to ask the question: is it worth the loss in jobs for the diplomatic bonuses that we get from having a free trade agreement with these nations? And I think that's going to be the biggest problem that both sides of the aisle are going to have, where they try and get it to where it's so black and white when it's really not. It's very situational. Some nations, yes, we should have free trade agreements with. However, as a general policy, having free trade agreements with just everyone would be very, very bad for American business. It's with basically everything else. You have to have a balance. You cannot simply go free trade with everything, and you can't just ramp up the tariffs on everything. You have to have give and take. And so that is my opinion on the matter. That's how I feel. You have to have some give and take in the world. And I'd love to get feedback and know what you guys think about the matter. And if you think I'm wrong, say so. That's fine. If you agree with me, say so and say why. Let's have a good discussion about it.